Hey guys, welcome back to the Alcohol-Free RV. Today we're taking you on a beautiful drive eastbound on US 40 from Winter Park, Colorado down towards I-70. The clips that we're seeing start on what is considered Berthoud Pass. Berthoud Pass is the name of the route that is shown here, and it was discovered as a route while a gentleman with the last name of Berthoud was trying to plan out a rail route over this section to get points westbound from here. And well, didn't pan out from a railroad perspective, but it is a great way to get from places like Denver and I-70 onto Winter Park, Granby, and Grand Lake. Granby and Grand Lake are sitting just outside of Rocky Mountain National Park on the west side of the park, and so you have easy access from Denver to the west side using this pass. Now please note that we are traveling in these clips eastbound, so we're from Winter Park back towards I-70 in Denver. So will give you a little bit of an idea of what the drive is going to be like in reverse. I had initially tried to take video of that and apparently had the camera settings set up incorrectly and the video turned out terrible, so decided to capture the route on the eastbound traverse. In both directions there are two lanes going uphill, so eastbound 2 lanes going eastbound, and westbound it's the 2 lanes going westbound. Now what you're seeing here is the first of 9 hairpin turns that take place as you traverse the pass. The route through US 40, I may have said I-40 before, but this is US 40, US highway, it's not an interstate. So the route does make significant elevation gain as you go through it, and the switchbacks do help, but they are quite sharp, and the posted speed limits for most of these hairpins are only 20 miles per hour. I followed those recommended speeds, they're the yellow signs, so I followed the truck speeds both on the way up and the way down, simply because, you know, we've got a 40-foot rig and a 22.5-foot truck. So I figured following the trucker rules, so to speak, were probably an appropriate choice for our traverse. I didn't pass any trucks and I didn't catch up to any trucks, I don't think, as we were going up or down this way. So I felt like I was in line. Most of the speed limit going through the straighter sections is 40 miles per hour, so I did creep up towards that number, both on the uphill and downhill, but I was keeping the transmission in 3rd gear of our, I think it's 6-speed in our F350, and that kept me able to, you know, that kept me able to continue along at posted speed limits. And of course I set it to auto, maxing it out at 3rd gear. So as we slowed down and made these turns, and here comes another one, as we made these turns, being able to go those speeds felt very comfortable. I would have felt uncomfortable had I tried to go any faster through these curves. Now you can see the cones on the side here, that's in the center lane. They are doing some painting of restriping the highway, so that's not something that would normally be there. Matter of fact, the week before they were not painting, and so we didn't have those cones. As you can see along the edges, there is some space should you need to pull over. There is some space. It's probably right about 8 foot wide. So if you have an overheat situation or tire problems or whatever, there is an opportunity to do that. And I found that exists more so on the eastbound route that we're looking at. simply because a lot of that is more tighter towards the inside of the curves and the inside towards the uphill side. I'm not sure I'd want to even give it a go of trying to stop on the westbound side. As you can see, there's no guardrails there, a couple of turnouts on the side, but the full stretches of almost a whole nother lane that you could, or well, not lane, but a lane width to pull over was greatly appreciated should you need it. As you can see, there's a car pulled over right there. Kind of proves the point. So that was kind of nice. In the summer, I found no issues getting, around, up and over this pass. I have driven this same route in the winter in an all-wheel drive car, and it can get pretty hairy. So, this pass shoots up to over 11,000 feet. It is 11,307 feet above sea level. So it does experience a significant snow volume in the winter, and snowstorms can come around even through May and into June sometimes. So if you are planning a trip through this area, just be prepared that inclement weather can strike at any time in these mountains of Colorado. There's still plenty of snow on the north faces of some of these mountains. So normally they do take care of the roads in the winter, meaning plowing, and they use gravel here as additional traction control. So it is passable mostly year round. However, I'm not sure I'd want to do it towing a trailer, especially of our size, up and down this curvy, windy road. The views here are absolutely amazing, as most of Colorado is. Anywhere you're getting into the mountains, you're following these roads up through the forest and everything. Yeah, you can see there's some pine beetle kill. We have a pine beetle problem, and they devastate forests. They eat basically pine wood and cause some major damage to the forests, and it kind of rots them out from the inside. But they do try to do some control of the downed wood to try to prevent forest fires and stuff. Not always 100% successful, but the beauty here on this pass is just absolutely amazing. I really wished I had the opportunity to look around and look to the left and to the right and see what was on the sides, but my eyes were glued to the road the entire time. It's considered a difficult pass. It's up to 6.3% grade on both sides, with an average grade somewhere around the 4% mark. There are some more level spots that are a little place to take a breather, but it is considered a white knuckle drive. And as you can see, another large pull-off area. There's a lot of trails and hiking along the sides of this road. So if you're interested in visiting the area and taking some decent hikes, any of these pull-offs are fair game. There's even a parking lot at the top of Berthoud Pass. It is supporting of about 100 cars, I think, give or take. I didn't count. But there are trails. There's a warming hut there. There used to be a ski resort actually on the top of the pass, and in the winter the locals do like to drive up and still do backcountry skiing, where they hike up to the top and ride down. Now, the ski resort didn't fare very well as the late 90s came around, and so unfortunately it closed in the early 2000s. But the terrain is still there, so in times of appropriate weather, if you're a backcountry skier, this is definitely a place that is beautiful to get your sights on some fresh pow. Now this uphill side from Winter Park up to the top of the pass is about 11 miles from Winter Park. And I think we started the video about 7 miles from the summit, right around milepost 236. And the summit is around milepost 243. In that distance, we have approximately 1,650 feet of vertical elevation gain. So there's calculations on what that means as far as percentages, but it's the overall distance horizontally traveled by and the vertical distance traveled as well. It's not the actual length of the surface of the road, but overall, yeah, it's about 1,652 feet is what the numbers are telling me. And as I mentioned, you know, these switchbacks are just, they're hair-raising. They're absolutely hair-raising, but the views are gorgeous. Your passengers will love this. Maybe as a driver, not so much. The approach to the summit is, I think, coming up here relatively soon. We're still on that uphill side. Some of the mountains that you might see in the area: Mount Ava, Mount Flora, those are on our left here. Obviously you can't see them right now, but those are the two main peaks that are on the east side of this traverse. The traverse generally runs north to south in this area, but US 40 is an east-west route, just from the numbering perspective. And here we are approaching that summit. On the left is where that paved parking area is. They do have a turnout lane for you if you want to reach that area. And as I mentioned, plenty of parking, warming hut if you're out there backcountry skiing. I'm not interested in backcountry skiing. That's a little bit too much for me. We just passed the downhill speed limit sign, and it does have a posted speed limit of 45 miles an hour for traditional passenger vehicles, and the truck speed limit is 10 miles per hour less than that, so it's set at 35. Again, due to the steepness of the terrain here, I feel very comfortable driving at those truck speeds. So anywhere that there is a truck speed limit, kind of regardless of where we're at, you know, whether it's this pass or others, like the Eisenhower Tunnel, which I'll link up above here, that downhill from the Eisenhower is, you know, the truck speed limit is lower, and I always put my engine brake on when we're going down these steep grades and try to hit the brakes as little as possible. The engine brake in our truck does a pretty good job of holding speed, and again, maintaining a lower gear. Ours, I was able to put in third gear and feel like the truck was holding the weight and not picking up speed too much. So it made it a much more comfortable drive for me. Now, again, as I mentioned, you know, you see there's kind of these areas on the sides. It's kind of narrow here at this portion, but coming up a little bit further down the hill, there is actual paved shoulders and some turnouts and things like that, where you can pull over if you feel like your brakes aren't working right. Please pull over and check them out. The curves are no joke coming down this thing, and there are no runaway ramps. So if you are experiencing any issues, and there we go, there's the paved portion, get yourself off the road, check things out, and if you need a tow, get a tow. You don't want to be rolling down these hills, picking up speed, and then having to make a hairpin turn, such as the one coming up right now. And you know, as I approached these hairpins, I did tap the brakes to get the rig slowed down a little bit more, but I wasn't laying on the brakes. However, when I do use the brakes on a descent, I typically press them pretty hard and then let them go so that they have time to cool down if I need to use them again. I don't just kind of barely slow the rig down. I try to get it slowed down relatively quickly, and it works out well for me. Typically, I don't have to hit the brakes very much with that engine brake, but you know, if you've got a vehicle that doesn't have an engine brakes, you know, say you're towing with an SUV or other non-diesel engine, then firm pressure on those brakes and then let them go. We really want to keep that speed in check, but without riding the brakes down. If you ride your brakes down these hills, you are going to wear them out, and you are going to end up having a repair bill on your hands, if not worse. Brakes can get over hundreds of degrees. As an example, the Pikes Peak Highway, if you're ever in the Colorado Springs area, that's another beautiful drive. I don't have a video of it, but you know, maybe we'll get that one sometime. The Pikes Peak Highway, they actually have a brake check station halfway down because people are coming down this road that are, you know, not familiar with driving techniques in the mountains. A lot of visitors up there, and so they actually stop and pull you over if your brakes are over 350 degrees, I think it is. I have been stopped once coming down off of Pikes Peak for an overheat condition on the brakes, and the same thing happens. You know, your brakes will warm up as you're coming down these hills. These grades, you know, they're kind of relentless on your brakes if you're riding them all the way down. So that's why I try to keep off the brakes as much as possible, just to keep them in good working order. When they're hot, they don't work as well, and you want to be safe and protected while you're making these descents. Being on this downhill side, we are approaching the town of Empire, and that's the exit that you would take. I think it's exit number, let's see, 308. If you are trying to get to US 40. No, that can't be right. Sorry, it is 232. 308 is the highway that's right north of I-70 in that area. So it's exit 232 if you're coming from Denver. And if you're coming from the west side, you know, Vail, Utah points west. Also, exit 232. But this is a little bit out of the way if you're trying to get up to Grand Lake, Granby, Winter Park. Well, Winter Park, I might come this far, but if you're trying to do the Rocky Mountain thing, if you're far enough west, say you're coming from Vail, Vail Pass is pretty steep, and but it's interstate, and it's not as windy as this is, but it might be reasonable to check out taking Route 9 from Interstate 70 up to the town of Kremling, and then US 40 east towards Granby or Grand Lake, wherever you're staying. That direction doesn't have any major passes once you're past Vail Pass, so just something to think about if you're towing. It's a little bit longer of a drive by miles, so something to consider if you're not too into these windy passes. And of course, if you want to do that from coming from Denver or points east on I-70, certainly an option for you. But then there is also you'll contend with going through the Eisenhower Tunnel. So if you don't like driving through tunnels, that Eisenhower Tunnel is just big enough to fit modern full-size RVs like our fifth wheel. If you see a semi-truck going through, there's inches to spare. between the roof and the ceiling, and the lanes are a little bit narrower, not a whole lot. I've never felt uncomfortable driving our RV through the tunnel, but if it's something that concerns you, you can avoid the tunnel by going up to Route 9 coming from Vail. If you are wanting to avoid the tunnel and the curves, kind of out of luck if you're trying to get to the west side of Rocky Mountain National Park, because there's no real good routes in that area. If you don't want to take your RV through twisty, windy roads, book early and book on the east side of the park. Estes Park has a number of campgrounds. There's a couple of campgrounds in the Estes Park area, or a little bit further if you go out to Loveland. That's a little bit of a longer drive then to get into the national park, but there are some options for you if you want to go camping. And it is about 2 hours drive from Estes to the very western points of the park. So just something to think about. You know, if you are not into the windy roads with your RV, there are windy roads through the park on US 34, which goes through Estes Park and through Grand Lake and Granby, but you might be able to do those in just your tow vehicle, or your Toad if you have one, or rent a car. Renting a car is also an option on the east side. You're not going to find much in the way of rental cars on the westbound side or west side of the park, but it's been a beautiful drive. Thanks for watching this episode, y'all. My name's Todd. This is the Alcohol Free RV. I hope you take a moment to subscribe.